What the hell do you do? Yeah, you know how it goes when you try to explain what it is you do for your family, or your friends, or your family's friends. What the hell do you do, Todd? What do I do? I'm just trying to survive, right? I'm trying to survive as the weird thing that I am? No, I'm trying to survive as the best weird thing that I can be. Okay, so that involves making best possible choices and uses of the skills and experiences that I have. And because I live in a society, I need to find ways to deploy those skills in ways that appeal to others. Okay, but this society is also a capitalist society, and what the capitalist world wants is not actually what is best. It wants what makes the most money, or creates the biggest market. Which means the world doesn't really want weirdos like me at all. Or rather, only a tiny portion of it does. And I have to be okay with that, because guess what? It's true. Okay? I've taken a lot of personality batteries through my life. I never account for more than 4% of the population in any categorization or taxonomy of personality or brain types. Okay, it's just fucking true. But guess what? George Bernard Shaw wrote that thing about how the reasonable man, bends to suit reality, and the unreasonable man forces reality to bend to suit him. And therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Well, I am that unreasonable man. And more, I'm too old to change that. So this is part old dog, new tricks, right? Can't do it. But it's also secrets of the old pioneer. I am an old pioneer. And what this old pioneer is doing is trying to find a way to do a capitalism without doing a capitalism. So you may have heard of the 1,000 True Fans idea. I believe it was Kevin Kelly, founder, editor of Wired magazine, came up with this idea years ago. The 1,000 True Fans basically says if you can find 1,000 people who are willing to pay $100 a year for your stuff, well, guess what? You get $100,000 a year. That, by the way, is basically the happiness threshold, right? Money does buy you happiness up to a point, and beyond that point, they don't buy you happiness anymore. You're on your own. But it's not like I treat the 1,000 True Fans notion as an actual measure of success, but it is valuable to me as a guideline, and it may not work the same for all fields or interests or art forms, but for this one, for books and games, and also I think for music, I think it works pretty well. So, fan-supported, non-profit, meaning, I don't mean 501c3, I just basically mean that all revenue goes directly back into operations, because when you're this small, survival is operations, and then when you get a little bit bigger, it really just means being able to lock down the stuff that was wobbly this whole time. That's what indie life is, y'all. It's pretty wobbly. But no matter what, it's always kind of a capitalism, right? It's not like I'm amassing land or anything, but I am amassing talent, which is labor, and I'm seeking funding, which is capital. So even though I'm effectively a nonprofit organization, still doing a capitalism, and it bugs me enough to look for ways to offset it, counterbalance it, to force reality to suit me, or die trying, because what other point is there? in a sense, I may have been working for a decade or more, just setting up these counterbalances to make sure that my efforts, like as seen from the perspective of a good capitalist, that my efforts would not only be undesirable, but probably impossible, and definitely stupid. So how do we achieve that? A couple ways, right? First, we focus on the weird. The weird is by definition not desirable to the mainstream, and I focus on weird content, weird systems, weird writers. So, okay, we got that covered. I'm doing books and I'm doing games. Who does that, right? You choose one. Choose a lane, Todd. No. There's no book publisher who's going to come along and snatch me up. They don't know what to do with the games, and there's no game publisher that knows what to do with the books. So I'm kind of non-desirable for a corporate buyout or takeover from either of those two industries. And so then I work with other writers besides just myself. And this keeps me from making it be all about me. It's important. If it was all about me, if that was all I was doing, it's kind of ego. It's not really ego that I'm here for. It's more like a purpose. It's a telos. My purpose is just being productive. It's a way to pay off my birth debt. So I try to get other people who I find interesting, weird, and who deserve some more attention than they're getting, and try to help them through publishing, editing, advocacy, enablement, whatever I can do, so that the as if collective, I mean, I know it's not really a collective, but you guys are generously allowing me to use that word, and hopefully on the Discord we can start moving things more in that direction. Because it is some sort of weird community I want to build here. The Patreon supported is another leg of this whole thing. It's literally a niche group effort forcing reality, to force reality into only rewarding me if it loves what I'm doing, or only that portion of reality that loves what I'm doing to reward me. You know what I mean? I mean, I definitely want and need support, right? But I'm not interested in pandering or learning how to pander for a position closer to the mainstream or the normal, whatever that means. I don't really think that I could anyway. The shit that I create is weird. It's kind of brainy, and it's built for weird, brainy people. Believe it or not, I know this. It's not normal, quote unquote. It's not normal to think about abstract machines that represent and mechanize narrative dynamics. Believe it or not. It's not normal to seek out literature that refuses to play by genre conventions and tropes, or role-playing games that treat their players as creative writers. In fact, the stuff that I do is really only interesting, and here I mean fascinating, for a very small percentage of people who are kind of like me. And I'm thinking maybe 1,000 of them. And that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for those people.